Hi and thanks very much for joining me. I'm Dean, this is Woodwork Journey, and today we're going to be looking at dust collection on a table saw. Now this is my Axminster TS250 hobby range, which is quite an old saw now, but something you can pick up online pretty cheaply on like secondhand marketplace and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, the reason that I'm doing this today is because this, like many table saws, has absolutely horrific dust collection. It's really, really bad. And if you saw my dust collection video that I did when I put all my piping in, you'll know that I lifted this up and showed the inside, and there was just a mountain of dust to one side of the blade. And yeah, it was just getting ridiculous. And there is a reason for that, and I'll show you. But like I said, I think what we're going to do today, we'll be able to cover a whole bunch of saws, no matter what you've got, as long as it's got an open base. This might help you. I've not done it yet, so I don't know if it works, but we'll try and get there fairly sharpish. Let me just quickly tell you what the problem is with this one. Oh, I should say a caveat as well. I have made some modifications to this saw. I by no means advocate you doing similar things yourself. I'm just letting you know what I've done. This is not a tutorial to take certain guards and things off a saw, because 95% of it or 99% of it is pretty essential. So never lose your riving knife or your hood or your various bits and bobs. But I have done a couple of modifications to this. Just saying, don't do it yourself. Good, let's get into it. Right, so I'll tell you what the problem was with my one, and then you can see if yours does anything similar. But this 100mm adapter was attached to the outside of this particular part of the saw, which meant it actually got reduced to this kind of 40 or 50mm, whatever it is, which was, you know, significantly smaller than this. Now we do have a little teeny weeny takeoff there, which goes to the hood if you want it to. But you don't always use a hood. So when this was on there, it was only getting half of the air being used, if that. So that then came into this section just behind here and had a single hose going up to the base of this. Now this was around the blade previously, and you can see there that you've got a fairly significant hole for another hose, which is great in theory. However, that is also cut down by half. So the amount of air that was actually getting around here was ridiculously small, particularly because I was using a low pressure, high volume piece of kit. It just wasn't doing very much. And we've got the blade and the motor and stuff on this side, but on the other side, that was where just mounds and mounds of sawdust would come out and then just build up in there, and it was a nightmare to get rid of. So that is what we're looking at changing today. Now then, this is the cabinet that I was using for my table saw, and in an ideal world I would love to rebuild this whole thing, but with plywood, particularly 18mm ply of any denomination, being the price that it is now, that's just not possible at the moment. So what I've got to do is try and make the best of a bad job. Now when I built this, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and so I actually made the middle section first and then kind of made the side sections and kind of screwed them all together, which was a bit rubbish, to be fair, but you know, we'll work with what I've got. There was a bit of plywood over the top of this as well, and that's what would collect all of the shavings underneath the saw, which was a bit of a nightmare. So what we've gone for, or what I've gone for, yesterday I purchased the Charnwood DH410 from Norfolk or Norwich Saw Services. Still can't remember which one it is, but yeah, we've got one of these hoods. Now these get used for a whole bunch of things. I think this is 100mm on the end of here to hook your thingamajig up to, and jobs are good. So this is actually going to go inside the hole there, and we're going to have the main drop point be directly under the side of the saw that tends to lose the most sawdust, and then this side, if any gets past the motor or anything like that, because it's sloped, it'll go straight down. I'll then connect a hose to the underside of that. Again, in an ideal world I would hard pipe it through to my system, but it's going to have to be an extendable hose for the time being. And yeah, that should, in theory, sort things out. But because of my sort of dodgy way of building this cabinet, it's a little bit awkward to to get the saw properly shimmed up so it's level all the way, and also because I made this bottom section first, I've got to extend the back, otherwise we're not going to achieve anything. Once I've done that and pop the saw in there or on top of it and it all seems fine, then I'm going to see about reducing the where the air can escape on this, and I've thought of a way of doing that with magnets. So hopefully that's going to help us, but something, you do need a certain amount of airflow going through your saw, whatever. You can't block up everything. And Hooked on Wood, the channel Hooked on Wood, he did a wonderful video about that recently and showed a sort of an example of what happens if you block off too many air holes. So I'd strongly suggest going and checking that out after this video. Okay, I do feel I should apologise for wearing a V-neck t-shirt, but you know, it's flipping hot in Norfolk at the minute, and a little while ago I was wearing a muscle shirt, and nobody needs to see that on the internet, so think yourself lucky. Anyway, back to the project. Okay, so what I've done is I'm only being aware of this line that I've got a tick next to, and this one that I've got a tick next to as well, because figure out that line is the underside here and the underside here. That's what those two lines represent. And I've also got sort of a starting and finish point. Now this actually does fit, if you sort of finagle it a little bit, in there. So I am going to have to make sure that I sort that out, but I need to make a cut that's going to be deep enough to go all the way around there, all the way through that top piece of ply. Then we can worry about how we're going to get this situated. But I think as long as I cut a hole kind of in between these and these, maybe give it 15mm aside, I think that's going to give us all the space we're going to need to be able to get this in there after popping it into the saw. Okay, so I'm going to mark out the rough square of what we've got and then measure 15mm in from that. Right, so these are 17 inches front to back, so we can measure that on this here line here, get a rough idea. I don't think this needs to be perfect, you know. So what we've got here, this should be the size square for the internal measurement of the hole there. So what I'm going to do now is just draw another square like 15mm on the inside, and that'll give a lip for the everything to make sure that it sits in properly. So I'm just going to do that right now. Okay, so this is the inner section here. This should be the lip that will go around things and make sure we've got plenty of space to hang the jobby. So I've just got to cut this out now. I could use a router or a handsaw or the circular saw. Not quite sussed it out yet, but I'll let you know as soon as I've cut it. Decided to go with the router, and we've got a combination bit going in there, a spiral up and down bit, I think it is. But yeah, let's see how we get on. Totally meant to be all sort of wavy on there. I'm fine with that. That's okay. Doesn't go in all the way, and I'm okay with that, because while I could take it out a little bit more size-wise, it's actually got to get past the legs of the table saw as well. So I'll just measure those to make sure that everything's okay size-wise, but it should be jobs are good one. Yeah, so that's about 18mm. And that's more like 25, nearly 30mm. So yeah, no problem with that whatsoever. Okay, so this is the moment of truth. Does that fit in there? All okay? No, it doesn't. because I've got a cross brace at the back that needs sorting out. Okay, so that's pretty much fitting in there. I might just have to do a little bit of finagling, but like I said, I'm happy with the fact that it's got a lip over the top of it. That doesn't make any difference because the saw will be up a little bit higher than this. So that'll be all right. Sorry if you can hear the pup barking in the background. But yeah, okay, now I've got to see how I'm going to attach this to the saw. Okay, so what we're doing here is I've just put a little spacer underneath here for the minute because I've been mocking this up and trying to think how I'm going to go with it. I'm going to sort of attach this with gaffer tape for the moment. We've got a space underneath there. We've got sort of even spacing all the way around. So this should fit in the hole that I've made reasonably well. But I am going to use gaffer tape. If it works, then I'll probably hoy it all out again and use silicone or something like that. I've just got to figure out what I'm going to do with the sort of 3/4 inch gap we've got at the bottom there. But yeah, I'm going to try and gaffer this up and we'll take it from there. So here we go. This is now gaffer taped all onto the outside of that. Some of the, most of the air holes have now been blocked up as well. So we'll see how this fits in the table, and hopefully this gaffer tape will do a marvellous job. If you can't fix it with gaffer tape or a hammer, then it's probably electrical. So as you can see, under here, we've now got everything in place. It's managed to fit in the hole. Job is a good one. Let's get the camera up and I'll show you from the top end. I did have to take the tops off these, and that's going to be slightly problematic because yeah, the difference in height here is going to be a bit of a pain, but we'll figure it out, and I think I'm going to use cards to sort it out. I'll show you what I mean in a little while. But I'm going to pop these tops back on, and we can see that we've got a little bit of a gap going on there. Now I am going to have to plug up this hole that was the old exhaust hole. We've got another hole there that I'll tell you about in a moment, and then we've got the front to worry about. Super sorry for the shaky cam, but I'm holding it so I can show you what we've got going on. I've put this back together again. I've somehow lost one of my bit of aging going on here, so I'll figure out where that went. But this top actually goes over the little sides under there, so that's why I had to take that off before I could do it. Now you can see that there is quite the gap there going on now, so what I'm going to do, and that's on both sides of course, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop a strip of wood underneath here and here to raise the saw up a little bit, and then I'll do final shimming with a deck of cards. Alrighty, so what we can see here is I have put, sorry for the blowing out there, I have put a spacer underneath each side, which is fine, but that does mean that we have, oh, I'm going to have to sort that out, hold on. But it does mean we've got this, and this isn't even all the way, so what I'm going to do is use a pack of cards, and I'm just going to stack those until they're level with the top there, like that. Same there. Oh, see if we can do that with the camera showing. Some of that, all sorts of noises going on outside. We'll go to this side. Some of that. And then we need a couple more. This is going to use an entire pack of cards, this. One over. And there we go. So I'm going to put those underneath each corner at the bottom there, and that should, in theory, level this up to be perfect. We've got some cards underneath there, over the top of a little piece of wood underneath each leg. That's lifting those up. Got some at the front as well, and that means that we've got some, it's pretty flush going on there, which I'm quite happy with. A little bit off there, but this side won't matter quite so much. But I will need to just give it a little tiny bit of a boost at some point. But no, that's that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug up that hole right there. And once I plug that up, then I'm going to plug the 100mm into the bottom of there that you can't quite see. And then I'm going to see how sucky it is. And we'll take it from there. The thing that I promised you earlier about magnets is just this. And this is just a bit of MDF. And I've drilled in some holes and I've inset some magnets. That's it. Let me show you what it does. So what I've done is I've cut this piece so it kind of fits around this, and all we've got to do is pop that over there. Magnets will take care of that. Wallop. And that then covers up a bunch of the holes that are under there. And if I do want to move this round, so I do angles and all that sort of nonsense, then I can just easily take this off and easily replace it again. So that's simple for that. I've put gaffer tape up the top there and down the sides. And now we've got a phenomenal thing. I'll show you a little bit of a doodly-doo about some B-roll that I've just done about how well this is sucking, because quite frankly this is doing a spectacular job, and you can feel it. You can feel it through the what's it called? The zero clearance plate. There we go. Got there in the end. So yeah, you can feel it. You can feel it going through there. So for that, what I've done is I have actually drilled through some holes in there, and that is going to help with the movement of air, and you can feel the air coming through the top there as well, which is super impressive. I mean, it's not huge coming through there, but it is a reasonable amount. And when you take that off, you can really feel how much air is now circulating around inside there, which is absolutely stunning. So yeah, that's about as far as we're going to go with that today. So that's about it. Hopefully that was useful to you. It has made a shocking difference. I mean, I've put some holes on the top of this. Again, go and check out the Hooked on Wood video that I'll link in the description. But with this one, I've put some holes on the inside there just to help with airflow, because I've sealed a lot of the other ones right up, so they're not going anywhere. And yeah, it's just, you can feel the air when you're on top of the zero clearance plate, which is nice. It's not a gust, couldn't remember which word to say, but it's not huge, but it's something. It's better than nothing. And in there, as soon as you take that off, you can really feel the amount of wind pushing through underneath there. So I'm really chuffed with it. I think it's worked out amazingly well, yeah, I think it's going to be a welcome addition to my table saw. Hopefully it's going to be helpful for one of you guys as well. If you did find this helpful, please do subscribe, hit the like button, and maybe share it with someone you know who might find this useful. But yeah, this is one of I like this table saw, but the dust collection is and has always been absolute garbage. So now we've got that sorted out, I'm made up. This is fantastic. Yeah, it would be great if we had a hard pipe instead of the concertina hose on the other end of it, but it is what it is. And yeah, you'll see it being used a lot more in upcoming videos, so make sure you subscribe for those, and I will see you very soon. Thank you very much. Bye bye.